Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the high school fan zone on Monday night. We have finished up with Coronado. We're going to jump into the Matador fan zone with, I'm going to let you say how many years, baseball coach Mark Llanas. Another reminder that Monday nights are now LISD nights, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey in that order every Monday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. here on the fan zone. And we are in Estacado's time slot. So, guy I've known you since I started my website. I'm trying to think so I left the AJ in 2003. Mm-hmm. Where would you have been at that point?
I would have been Estacado.
Assistant coach under Hector?
Under Hector, yes.
If Hector had taken the job. Hector's getting a lot of play because we talked to Victor Gomez last week about playing for Hector. And I told him that when Hector got to Plainview, my father-in-law was the radio guy, and he called Hector the human rain delay.
Man, he'll give those signs like he has nowhere to go.
Yep, and doesn't care if anybody else had anywhere to go either.
No, he doesn't. No, I've been on the practice field a couple times, and he's pretty true to that philosophy.
He will test your ADD if you're a player.
Well, that wasn't a thing back then, so everybody was fine.
That's true. Nobody knew what that was at that point. But how many years as the head coach now?
This is going on 14.
And you look way too young to have been coaching that long.
Man, maybe so. Sometimes I don't feel like it.
Part of it's because all of your children are sons, so God is sparing you a little bit of the gray hair and the.
Oh no, I just cut it all off, so you don't have to worry about that. But yes, 3 boys is. It's enough.
It's enough. You've got a lot of boys that you coach on the baseball diamond. I mentioned Victor. Victor was your right-hand man for several years, and I'm going to say the same thing to you. I said to him, you guys had not that you're not there again, but that program for a few years was as good as anybody in Lubbock, anybody in Class 4A. You guys had it going there really well.
We did. We had a really good crew. I had known Victor for a long, long time. I coached his son. His son went there. He was our summer league coach for a long time. Rance O'Brien, whose daughter now plays at Western Michigan. He was our summer league coach, and then she was born, and he stepped away. Victor filled those shoes, and it was just one of those deals where we kind of got along. We knew what we wanted to do, and it was a perfect combination of he did infield, I did pitching, and it just worked because those combinations are sometimes not the easiest thing to get. And I don't have a lot of regrets at Estacado, but that 2020 team was probably the biggest one. That
you talked about that as well.
I've been here for a long time, and that's easily top 3 teams that we've ever had, and we've had some absolutely great teams at Estacado, and that team had pitching, hitting, defense, speed. I mean, I think we were 6th or 7th in the state, and we were like 13-2, 13-3, and we had just got through with the hardest part of the schedule, which was tournaments, and we were about to get into district, and that would have been, me and Victor talked about that could have been a 30-win team.
My theory is that if COVID doesn't strike then you and Kent Metter and Monterey would have both been in Austin that year.
We would have had a great opportunity. I know that. It was just, that was, man.
It's horrible, but the thing is, and Victor and I mentioned this, is that at least it happened to everybody.
I did, and there's no red shirt, there's no medical hardship.
Nope.
It's just it ended, and
it's just a life lesson for some high school kids that you wish they hadn't had to have learned. But I know some of those kids came back the next year, and the ones that graduated have done really good things.
Yes, Keanu finished playing. Johnny's got one more year. We had a couple kids play. It's just that awkward extra year. Do I go do a master's and continue, or do I just take my degree and stop playing? A lot of kids were put in a hard spot that year, and it's life, man. You just have to roll with it and make the best of it.
And you guys have made the best of it. I'll go ahead and tear this bandage off now. Missed the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. Was that the first time in your?
That was the first year since my first. That was the first time since my first year.
Okay.
We went to state, and I think we replaced all 9 starters. We replaced the head coach, the assistant coach. We replaced the trainer. We replaced the manager. I mean, we even replaced principal. I mean, AD. I mean, like literally. I mean, it came back, and it was just one of those deals where, you know, it was just kind of trial, you know, on the job training to an extent, which was great. I mean, it had to happen. You know, it's one of those deals where you've coached forever. You've made those decisions, and now you are the one that make those decisions.
Right.
You're like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is wrong, you know, and it's just kind of one of those deals where, you know, you grow with it.
Last year, I remember now that looking at what you guys did, you got off to a slow start in district, got on a hot streak, and then all of a sudden the close games came back and got away from you, including, I don't remember if you went into the last game with a chance, but you lost in 11 innings, which that's a long baseball game at the high school.
It was. That was our last chance.
Yep. Well, we'll come back and talk more to Mark Llanas about the Matadors when we come back on the Matador Fan Zone after this break on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score on a Monday night. We were with Estacado, I'm going to call you longtime baseball coach. 14 years is a long time, Mark Llanas. We talked a little bit during the between breaks here about last year because I had to bring up that bad memory of those close losses. You said you don't have a ton of those guys back this year, but you want to use that close. When I covered LSU baseball, Paul Maneri always told me that that's the difference between a team that can be mediocre, good, or great, is how you do in one-run close games. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about it, and then went back and looked at the numbers, and that is, especially in the high school baseball season, it's even truncated more.
It is. You know, we did a great job of being in games. You know, we did a good job of fighting back, holding off. But, you know, we just, you know, the old term, you find ways to win. You know, we just found ways to lose close games last year, and that was just kind of, you know, maybe we don't realize that's a pattern until it's too late.
Yep.
But, you know, now this year that's definitely going to be it's on my little practice card.
There you go.
Know, that we go out to practice with, you know, win close games. So a lot of the practice this year is geared toward getting us in that position and finishing plays and making plays and being sure we're doing everything right.
How do you do that? Because in basketball, I actually was a basketball and a baseball player in high school. In basketball, you put a guy at the free throw line and tell him, if you miss this, we've all got to run.
Well, it's just, you know, we'll, you know, we have a situational deal where maybe, you know, second inning runner at second, 2 outs, and then we'll throw live. And, you know, wherever that ball goes, we got to get it out. Or on the other hand, the 7 situations, our last inning is, you know, win the game. It's get on, get over, and get them in. So we got to find a way to get on. We got to find a way to bunt them over, and we got to find a way to get them in. So it's just those situations where maybe last year we weren't put in it to where we, you know, maybe we don't handle that well, but now we're talking about it constantly to where it's like, oh yeah, I know we got to get them on. So I want to put some dip punt down, you know, don't get picked a second. I got to drive them in, so here we go. So it's just one of those deals where, or hold the runners close, or special play here, make sure we work our picks here, and stuff that we just don't assume. Is we've always done a great job of getting in the playoffs, doing little things. You know, that last year we did do a good job. It just wasn't good enough when we needed it.
You mentioned your background as a pitching coach. You want your pitchers to embrace what you've got to do pitch by pitch, not just at the end of games, but early in the games when you can let your team get a lead, get that cushion. Yeah,
you know, the 100 and pitch limit is huge. You know, it's you know, high school baseball is maybe 1-2 and a guy out of the bullpen.
Yep.
And that's high school baseball. So, you know, we've gone out of our way to create guys out of the bullpen, you know, lefties and righties, and hey, you're into a situational. You know, get us out here, get us out there. You know, maybe courtesy runners here and there to get some speed on the bases, stay out of double plays. But, you know, it's no stone has been left unturned in this situation coming from last year to this year. So we're kind of excited to apply it. You know, I want that first scrimmage to show up so I can see, like, oh, you know what? This is what we're not doing very well. So we need to go in and attack that during practice.
You know, kids go from one year, they may be disappointed from one year and go to the next, but I always, this is going to sound wrong, I hope it doesn't. I think it's not the worst thing in a coach's career to have a year like that where things don't go, when you're used to things going so well, you kind of reassess and kind of hit your reset button, and that kind of reinvigorates a coach as well.
Baseball is so great because there's just so many numbers. Stats are amazing. And, the summer was like the season of discovery, the season of, research. And we kind of just plowed through 35 games. I don't know how many 100 at-bats we had and how many over like 3,000 pitches thrown. And I went and just analyzed everything that we did and where do we lose it, what do we not do well. And, I know one of the big ones is at times we just didn't put the bunt down to get people over.
It's big.
And it is. And when the situation was big, we didn't put it down. When the situation wasn't as big, like batting 1,000.
Yeah.
So it's just those little things that you look and like you said, it's just, sometimes assessment or a self-reflection isn't bad.
You could reset your mechanism a little bit too. We probably won't have time to talk about one thing I said we were going to, because I'm looking at your roster. There's not a ton of real recognizable names when I called it up, but there is one, and we talked about him. We texted back and forth at the end of football season about Darren Tristan, who had a really good football season for you guys. And I know he was a key guy for you last year, but I would imagine that coming off of that football season, you're going to lean on that young man quite a bit.
He's a good pitcher, great outfielder. He's a college player. College is, sports for high school kids are going to get really tough now with NCAA and all their shenanigans going on right now. But he's a kid that can play. We have another kid, Christian Martinez, shortstop, late call-up from the JV. He's going to be a college kid when he gets to that point. But we have some kids that have experience. It's not a totally fresh lineup. A lot of kids were on the bench last year. A lot of kids played situationally. So it's not like we're just going in with no help. We're going to have kids that have stepped on the field in pressure situations. This year now we're going to rely on those kids to fill the shoes from those other kids that, last year obviously we didn't make it. So, we're expecting big things from those kids this coming year.
And one thing I don't think you'll have to, we've hit on it, you're going to have kids that are hungry now. They're going to be ready to go.
We talked about that after our first inter-squad on Saturday, so that will not be a problem. And if I think it's a problem, I'm going to make sure it's not a problem.
There you go.
So we'll be ready.
The coach that's reset his mechanism. Mark Llanas, going into season 14 or going into season 14 or going into season 15?
Going into 14.
Going into season 14, where he has had a ton of success. We'll pull the scab off one more time. Coming off a season when they didn't get to the playoffs, but coach is motivated, players are motivated. I feel like maybe the Matadors will surprise some people in their district. We didn't talk about this yet. Well, next time we have Mark on, we'll talk about the fact that district's a little bit different now with Liberty in town in that district. We'll come back after the break with the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.